Hi ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to show you a few things today before you get started. Today you're doing basics of functions. It's from section 1.1 and it reviews a lot of old stuff that you've done in the past from Algebra 1 and Algebra 2, but you're doing this in preparation for chapter 2, which is all about functions. Okay, so just a few things. You should have your little note sheet out that the substitute gave you today. You're going to plot the given point on a rectangular coordinate system. We're looking at number 1. You have a few points to plot. You have 6, 5. You have B, which is at negative 3, 0. You have C at negative 1, 2. You have D at 5, 1. And E at 0, 3. You're plotting this on the coordinate plane. Okay. And you remember, you just have to count. That's really all you have to do. Okay, so as you do this, your stuff's marked for you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, here's X and here's Y. Remember, you always go X first and then you go Y. You go over, or you go left and right, and then you go up and down. So to plot A, 6, 5, you're going to go over 6. You always start at the origin. So you should go over 6 and then up 5. So A should be right here in quadrant 1. Letter B is negative 3, 0, so left 3 nowhere up or down. So there's B. C is at negative 1, 2, so left 1 up 2. That's at C. And then D is 5, 1, so over to the right 5, up 1. And then E is 0, 3. Be careful there. You're doing 0 left and right. So 0 left or right, straight up 3, and there is letter E. Hopefully that was super easy for you. I really, really hope so. Okay. All right, so now let's go to the next part, which is graphing. So you're going to graph the equation for numbers 2 through 7. And I will tell you, in your book, when you do the problems like this, it gives you specific points to use or specific x's to use. So let's do that. For number 2, you're doing y equals x minus 3. And in your book, it'll say use x equals something like negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2. Okay, I don't remember if those are the exact same numbers, but it's pretty close. So what you'll do is you'll make a little table. I don't care if you make your table to the left and right or if you make it vertical. But remember, these are your x's. You're using these x's that it gives you. So you'll use negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, and 2, and you'll plug them in. So if you plug in a negative 2 there, that's negative 2 minus 3, that gives you negative 5. Plug in a negative 1, so negative 1 minus 3 is negative 4. 0 minus 3 is negative 3. 1 minus 3 is negative 2. And 2 minus 3 is negative 1. So when you plot, those are your ordered pairs that you just came up with. Those are what you plot. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, x and y. So you'll have negative 2, negative 5. There's your first point. Negative 1, negative 4, 0, negative 3, 1, negative 2, and 2, negative 1. As you can see, you get a straight line, which you should have gotten. All right, and hopefully you actually knew that before you even graphed the line, because this is in y equals mx plus b form. And remember, the m is your slope, and the b is the y-intercept. So you could have simply plotted the negative 3, counted the slope up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, and you have those same points. Okay? All right, so you can do the same thing with number 3, same thing with number 4. I think you guys will be okay on that. Let's jump down to number 5, or actually it's over to number 5. I want to show you how to graph that one. Okay, so number 5 says y equals the opposite of the absolute value of x minus 1. And once again, in your book, it gives you specific numbers to use, okay? So let's say that you have the numbers x equals -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'm just throwing those out there as givens. So you're going to use those. You just plug them in. Make a little chart. And you can make it horizontal or vertical. Let's see, on the paper that you're using, it's probably going to be easier to actually put it in the margin. So you know me, I like to erase sometimes. Let's go ahead and make that vertical on the right side of your coordinate plane. So your coordinate plane looks like this. I know yours is really, really little for some reason. And you can make your chart right here to the right of that. Okay? So we're plugging in a -2, a -1, a 0, a 1, a 2, and a 3. We're going to plug those into our x's and just figure out our y's. So keep in mind, this little opposite right here, this opposite in the front, you do after the absolute value. After the absolute value. So I'm going to do the opposite of the absolute value of -2 and then -1. So that's actually the opposite of 2 minus 1, which gives me -3. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing for the others. So really this work kind of does that. So I plug in a -1, the opposite of the absolute value of -1 minus 1. So the absolute value of -1 is 1. Stick the opposite in front, and then -1. You get -2. Now do 0. So all that's kind of that for that work. Okay. So now if you do 0, that should be easy. That should just be a -1. Plug in 1. So that's the opposite of the absolute value of 1 minus 1. So that's 1 for your absolute value of 1. Stick the opposite in front. -1 gives you -2. Then you've got the opposite of the absolute value of 2 minus 1. So that's 2 opposite, so -2 minus 1 gives you -3. Do you notice anything about your y's here? And then the very last one, the opposite of an absolute value of 3 minus 1 gives you actually a -3 minus 1, which is -4. Okay, so then you plot those. Those are your ordered pairs. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go one more, -4. Okay, here's your x and your y. And just plot the points that you found. Oops, that's kind of blocking our equation, isn't it? Plot the points that you found. So we're at, remember, over -2, down 3. So here should be our first point. Left 1, down 2. So here should be our second point at -1, -2. 0, -1. Start at 0, go right 1, down 2. Start at 0, go right 2, down 3. And then I put in one extra point there, so start at 0, go over to 3, down to 4. And then when you do this, you get that nice, pretty V shape. Sorry, I'm slightly off. Yours should be prettier than mine because you have grid paper. Okay, so absolute value equations are always V's. Okay, always, always, always. Absolute values are always V's. Okay, and then you'll do the same thing for 6. You just plug those in, pick some numbers to use, and you can plug them in and get it. Okay. Then we jump over to number 7. Think about this, guys. Number 7 says y equals -2, which means all of your y values are -2. You can come up with any set of any table that you want, but in that table, every y has to be -2. Okay, so you can use 0, 1, and 3. I don't really care. Make up whatever x's you want. When you plot that, you should notice every single y value is -2. So here's 0, -2. Wow, -2. 0, -2 right there. 1, -2 right here. 3, -2 right here. And there is our straight line. Okay, if you remember correctly, anything that's y equals just a number is horizontal. And if it is x equals just a number, let's see, let's just pick the number a. X equals just a number, that's always going to be a vertical line. Okay, so hopefully you're okay with that. X and Y intercepts, I just want to review as well. So you look at this graph right here on number 8, and you've got these X and Y intercepts. Your graph does something like this. So your X intercepts are right here. Okay, it's where you cross the x-axis. So you have 3 x-intercepts. 1, 2, 3. And then your y-intercepts are where you cross the y-axis. Sorry, that's kind of over each other. But that's the y-intercept. So you only have 1 y-intercept and you have 3 x-intercepts on this graph. Same thing for 9. Look at where you're crossing the x-axis. That's your x-intercept. 10, again, look at where you're crossing the x-axis and the y-axis. And those are your x and your y-intercepts. Okay. On number 11, 12, and 13, you're looking at that graph. You're trying to figure out during which hour did the temperature increase the most? So that's just a graph you're going to have to read, line graph, do your subtraction as you need. It's really an ordered pair kind of thing. So if you look at it, notice it has the break right here because we're skipping some numbers. But here's your hours. So you've got 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m., and so on. And then you have your temp. Okay, so here's 72, and I notice there's a blank and then 74. So right here at 9 a.m. it's 72 degrees. At 10 a.m. it's actually 73 degrees. Okay, so 10, 73. And you just do that like ordered pairs. And you just read it, do subtraction to figure out the amount of change. 14 and 15, the story problems. The amount of rainfall as a function of time if the rain fell more softly. So just think about what that might look like if you were to draw the rain. So let's say that rain starts out falling really hard, so it would go really steep. If you had a, so here would be time across the bottom. So the rain falls really, really hard and fast. So it's going to go like this, really high. And then if it starts to slow down, it's going to lessen its steepness as it slows. Okay, so think about that. You know, the height of an animal problem, number 15. Think about what the height of an animal does, or even the height of you. You grow, 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 and then you level off. And then maybe as a person, when you get older, you might even shrink a little bit. Okay, so that's not how tall you're getting, it's what happens as you grow. All right, so just keep all that stuff in mind, and I hope that that helps you out on some of these problems. So now you should be working on page 97. Again, this just reviews some old things for functions, and I want you guys to get started on page 97. I'll put it up here. Page 97, numbers 5 through 27 odd, 41 through 49 odd, 55, 57 through 63, yes, that's all, 69 and 79, comma, 79, comma, 81. When I said that was all, 57 through 63, you're doing all of those problems. That's not all the problems you have. Okay? Have a great day, guys, and I hope you do well on this. Thank you.